Are you saying that you hate God for the way that he made men objectify and look at beautiful women? This is a question posed to the masses by none other than Girls Gone Wild's founder, Joe Francis. That is right, baby. Get your panties and your jock straps ready because the Cancel Me Baby Dream Team. That's right. Cancel Me Baby and Joe Francis. We are back, bitch. So without further ado, we are going to talk about this one because it seems like I can't leave him alone for more than 2 seconds without getting in trouble. So Joe Francis, I mean, really. Part 2. All right, let's tell everybody what happened very quickly. You put up a photo of Kylie Jenner, you and Kylie Jenner on a yacht. What was her 18th birthday? You're checking out
my house.
At your house. Yes, you're checking out the booty. Maybe we're going to talk about that, okay? And this shit almost went viral because it was picked up by Us Weekly, Daily Mail. You were deemed some creeper for your eye line being on 18-year-old Kylie Jenner's booty. And yet you deleted the post.
No, I did not delete the post. I did not delete the post.
Oh, I thought you did.
My comment that we're going to talk about. And only because, not because I'm afraid of any controversy, even though, like the intro that you just gave, you can't leave me alone for more than 5 minutes without some other controversy or some other thing happening. I did not delete the post. I will not bow down and cow down to these idiots who troll Instagram and various other social media sites. I will not do that and delete the post.
Okay, my favorite thing about this is when this got pickup. Number one, you and I were talking about it offline and you're like, why in God's green earth is this even a story? But also your response was the most Joe Francis thing that ever happened, basically, which was what was in my intro, which is, this is how we're wired. What do you, we're going to check out women, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Now,
okay, then.
Yeah. Well, here's what I said. And in retrospect, I wish I had just left it up, but it doesn't matter. It's widely on the internet and it's everywhere for everyone to read. And I mean, I don't understand the reaction because if in fact I was looking at an 18-year-old's butt in a bikini, I'm a straight single man, what would be the problem of that? Like, I do not understand. I think it would be creepy not to be looking at that. I mean, men are wired to look at beautiful women. Why do women make themselves look so beautiful? Why does your hair look so lovely today, Taylor? I mean, excuse
me. I'm not the only one. You got a haircut. You got a haircut and you said it was for this and for me and for being on this show, supposedly. Exactly. We're not the only ones.
Women. Hey, I want to attract women. And women, look, men are more visual. That is 100%. Girls Gone Wild, and I said this, Girls Gone Wild would have not made billions of dollars. And we had 3 strategic warehouses like Amazon, fulfillment centers all over the United States. And I had live cameras that were in my office on television screens watching literally, and this is in the days of, pre-internet. So having this wired and the ability to have this, watching millions of video cassettes, that's how far we're going back, going into the warehouse, being taken to the warehouse from Technicolor and the various distributors, and going out and being fulfilled out, going out by UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service to millions of men every single day. Every day. Why?
Yes, I have said this as well on my show, Joe, that it is a primal thing, men being very visual. This goes before even Girls Gone Wild. This goes back eons. Think about paintings and sculptures of gorgeous naked women, right? Like the Venus, all of it. Mona Lisa, that shit is questionable, but okay. But
it really is. And it's a tiny little painting.
It is.
I don't know if you've been to the Louvre, but it's a tiny little painting.
It is. I have seen it.
And
But
she's ugly.
But
Mona.
there it is on the record. But I have to say there is a hole in your story because you're talking out of both sides. And I just want a little clarity because you did say, this is someone who is like a sister to me. We know how tight you are with Chris, with all of them, right? So which is it? You checking her out? Or is she a sister or both? What's the sitch?
Honestly, the honest truth about that photo is Kris Jenner really called me and said, look, my daughter's turning 18 years old. Joe, go make sure they're okay. I trust you. That's what she said. And I trust you. And honestly, I'm making sure because the waves got rough and we're on the back of the boat. And I'm making sure that she didn't slip and fall off the dive platform, which was under the water. So I'm literally saying be careful. So that's why it's an endearing photo. If you were there, if you were hearing, if you were Kylie, that's why I wished her, all it said was happy birthday, Kylie, basically. And this was a photo of, hey, a big brother looking out for a little sis, and their mom's full endorsement of that. But it looks like in the photo, I'm looking at her butt. Now, if that were true, I would take full responsibility, and I see nothing wrong with looking at an 18-year-old's butt in any regard,
but didn't
unless it's your daughter.
But even in the beginning of this, you were like, what's wrong with looking at an 18-year-old's butt?
Yeah,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but you're kind of being like, I feel like it's both. Is it both? Because on one end, you're like, yeah, I was like, it would be creepy if I wasn't. But then you're like, no, it was a total brother-sister thing. So
I mean, really, it was a total brother-sister thing. But at the end of the day, if you're going to come at me on Instagram, I'm going to have fun with it. And I'm going to tell the truth. And the truth is, oh my God, all these people are holding up signs for anti-abortion. Where do you think all these babies come from? People are having sex to make those babies. It's like what? It's like there's a missing step. It's like there's the marriage part, and then there's the abortion part. But it's like, and the baby part. But the sex part is like the part that nobody wants to talk about in the middle. There's like the real missing link here, and it's like, yeah, look, Taylor, sex feels good. When I have sex, it feels awesome. And you know what? I think it probably feels better for the women because they're the ones screaming and yelling and jumping off the chandeliers.
Joe, maybe they're just faking it with you. No, but that is an interesting point. He says probably. That is an interesting point, though. That's an interesting point, though, that
it's hard to fake it for 10 hours, though. That's all I got to say.
10 hours?
I've been in Hollywood a long time. It's hard to fake it for 10 hours.
10 hours? Who has the stamina for that shit? Okay. I mean...
I ran 10 kilometers this morning. Build your stamina. Runners have great stamina.
Kilometers is not code for sex, at least not in my book, because a bitch has to walk. No, but like, there's an interesting point you bring up.
I have to go in miles now. I'm sorry, because I'm in Mexico.
Listen, Mr. Mathematician. Listen.
Hey, Taylor, I'm super smart, and I know the metric system.
Seriously, I was going to say, listen, Mr. Mathematician Brainiac. Okay, the point remains the same. But the abortion thing is funny, right? Because you have everyone hooting and hollering this or that, but you're right. No one's talking about what leads to that. And like, to that point, it's number one, the primal need that we're talking about, but especially in these trying times, like these dreaded days, it is the only goddamn reprieve that we get. And yet, right, because that shit, it's almost a little bit like checking somebody out. I had a conversation earlier today on my show about this very thing. Like, that need when it's like you're in the moment, even if it's like to send a naked photo, or even if it's like to go raw dog or the pull-out method. And I said earlier, it's like, it's not worth it, guys. Like, don't send the photo, wrap that shit up, but in the heat of the moment, kind of like, again, checking someone out, it's like, you can't help what you can't help. And in the end, is it just a biological impulse?
100% it's a biological impulse. 100% it's a biological impulse. 100%. We were born to procreate. That's it. Whatever God made us, and I believe God's a woman because you guys have multiple orgasms, and we get a couple if we're lucky, right? You know,
that's the only reason.
So
that's the only reason.
You can have hundreds, right? God's got to be a woman, right? Most men go to work all day long, and women get a lot more benefit, right? I would say women are a lot more beautiful than men to me. So I would say God's a woman. In my opinion, God is either androgynous or a woman.
But to that logic, also, I kind of like have a thing with I'm as straight gets. Like, I love me a big man, but there's something about like the androgynous women with that dick energy. But that's a sidebar. But your whole thing, you're like, I think God's a woman. So do you hate God, right? It all ties together for making us this way. So did this female God make it to where they're just desirable to men all the goddamn time?
Yes.
Right?
I mean, well, come on. There's only one reason why whoever, whatever, and something did create it. And that's a whole nother philosophical discussion about God and whatever you believe God to be. And I'm not talking about God in the religious sense, but if you are, question your own God and question your religious God, because, I mean, do you believe Mary was a virgin? Come on. I mean, really?
You're like that hoe.
No. Years ago, or do you believe that Mary wanted to get stoned to death because that would have been the punishment for premarital sex? That's all I'm saying.
Listen.
God made sex feel good. Taylor, when you have sex, and I assume you've had it once. I know you were a virgin, and
I am still one. I don't know what you mean.
All right. Well, when you do have sex, from what I've been told, it feels good for women as well as men. So we were put on this earth, all of us, to procreate, to have children. And I have 2 beautiful children. And that requires one thing. To make children requires sex.
It's an impulse. Here's the thing, okay? As it pertains to why your picture went like almost on a viral, situation there, right? It's why it's gone so PC crazy, because I talked about this with Dave Portnoy when he came on my show. He said the same thing as you. He's like, women like sex. What is this? Like, what are they, like scarecrows for us to look at? Like, it's like, you know what I mean? So we've made everything so PC now to where if you so much as acknowledge what you're acknowledging or objectify women, which I agree men are going to naturally do, that's bad. And it's again,
define the word objectify, because
it's when you are eyeing a woman, you look at her body, you look at her up and down, and like take it in.
That's what she wants. Why would she go get her nails done? Why would she wear those beautiful high heels? Why would she have that beautiful outfit on? Why would she have such lovely hair like you do with the beautiful curls? That takes time. Trust me, I have 3 sisters. I've spent millions of hours watching women get ready. It is painstaking to watch.
Okay, let's dive into this though for a second, because I agree with you. And my audience knows, those of you just listening for the first time, which where have you been all your life? Honestly, get your life right. But my audience knows, Joe, and you know about my very own current Operation Sex Goddess body. I'm 2 months in, and it feeds into all this, right? Working my fucking, we're not supposed to curse. Okay. Working my effing ass off in the gym every day. My diet, okay, all of it, like the stamina and the commitment on the grind, busting my ass literally for like the hottest, sexiest body. Now, that is controversial in and of itself, right? Because people could be like, oh, what are you feeding into some male fantasy? However, number one, I want to do it because of what you are talking about. It is power. It is power to feel that good and to look that good. And if people want to ooh and ah and look, eat your heart out. Now, this is where woke people get confused. And this is what guys and girls have to understand, right? So there is that. And there's that power and empowerment that comes in that. But where they
And by the way, you look great, and I watch your legs look really hot too when you show
Thank
the legs on the internet.
I feel
I can say that. I can admit that. I don't care.
Right.
I appreciate what you're doing. And also,
yes, and
you're healthier. You're healthier.
Yes.
I bet you feel good and you look freaking great, Taylor. So
thank you. But that's what I mean. It's inside out. I have like a pep in my step, a buzz, and energy. I have people from out of the woodwork reaching me, being like, what are you doing? Right? Because it's working. But this is what I was saying, where people get confused. They need to understand now, if people objectify me, like I said, have at it, right? But in the end, we as women control who gets a piece of the pie. And that's what it comes down to. And where the woke has messed up is they've made it to where men control everything. Don't feed into a male fantasy. Men are all creeps. Are there creeps out there? Yes, there's a line of respect. Don't cross that line.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's
100%.
where it's gotten all muddled, don't you think?
100%. You're exactly right. Women want to be beautiful. Men want to feel good looking too. Women really want to, because women, come on, you spend the hours you spend in the gym. You spend more time, because we were able to talk offline before the show. You spend more time in the gym than I do. And I've been in the gym many years, and you look great, and you look way, but by the way, if I had a choice between you or me, I would choose you any day.
Well, gee, thanks. Gee, he just knows how to make a gal feel a type of way.
But you are beautiful, and you are feeling more beautiful, and I'm sure, and it is a part of you, and you want to be noticed, and you want that appreciation, and that assurance, and that gratification, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the thing. That's great for you. That's great for everyone. And why are women fighting other women, and they're wanting the same thing at the same time? And it is a total, this woke contradiction, and it's driven by a vocal minority, and that's all it is. It's a vocal minority.
Yes, and something about it that excites me is knowing on top of it that I'm smart. So people can see me and be like, who's this bouncy, big boob, blonde, bubbly chick? And then they hear me speak and they're like, holy fuck, their boxers fly off. So surprising people in that way is really fun for me. But that's
unless they're stupid.
That's where, and that's where the woke messes it up, because they have made it to where it's like, no, you have to literally look like an 80-year-old librarian, or no one will think you're smart and take you seriously. And it's like, well, buzz off. Said who? Right?
Said Elizabeth Warren, who looks like Hillary Clinton, who looks like 80-year-old librarian. Those people are these ugly lesbian women like Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren, these lesbians who I cannot believe when she said that you hate women if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton. You don't support women because they're lesbians together. That's ridiculous. And I love lesbians, because lesbians, well, number one, we're 20% of Girls Gone Wild customers were lesbians. So they made me rich. I love lesbian porn. I absolutely visually love lesbians. And most women have a lot of lesbian tendencies. But the real hardcore ones who are trying to get rid of the actual male and the procreation aspect of why we're here. We are here, this God, this being, this whatever creature you believe in, or whatever thing you believe in, something did create it all. And there's a reason sex feels good, and there's a reason men look at women, and there's a reason that women look at men, and there's a reason that's where babies come from. And people better start getting on board with that and trying. Now that Hugh Hefner's dead and Larry Flint has died, I'm the last man standing, and they're trying to kill me. And that's the worst part about it, because I'm in my 40s, okay? I've got a long way to go here. So, people, take it easy, because we're all having sex. If we weren't having sex, none of us would be here, because our parents wouldn't have had sex to make us, okay? Let's just slow down on Joe Francis. That's all I'm saying. I can say happy birthday to my friend Kylie Jenner, who I've known since she was a baby. Please.
He's like, justice for Joe Francis. Joe, have you heard from Chris or anybody since all this hoopla?
This isn't hoop in their world. This isn't hoopla.
This is like a blip, yeah.
Oh my God!
True.
But Lamar ODing in a brothel in Nevada and being airlifted. That's hoopla in their life.
They're like, this is a Sunday at brunch. This is like a good time.
This isn't even conversation. This isn't even in their life. This is like, come on, nothing. But
okay,
to me, it was nothing too. But to the world, it's 100 stories on the internet on every news gossip site in the world. And I don't get it. Honestly, you and I didn't get it. Because I didn't get it at all.
You know what's interesting? While all this was playing out, Tommy Lee's dick pic, which is, speak of the Mona Lisa, like I am about to frame that in my new apartment as if it were the original Mona Lisa. Gorgeous, right? But that news story was going on at the same time. And it's kind of funny because it's like, oh, Joe Francis being a creep, yet we women, and by the way, I know for a fact, okay, fact checked, that I'm not the only woman who thought that that shit was hot. I'm like, he's 59 and with the tats and ripped and hung. I mean, come on. So isn't it funny that like you're kind of getting it, yet we can objectify, if you will, Tommy Lee, dusk till dawn.
Isn't that amazing? And then I'm the devil. Now I've been friends with Tommy for many years, and I love Tommy, and he's so sweet and so charming. And I introduced him to a few of his girlfriends. And he does apparently have the tools, according to at least a few of them who I'm close friends with. But yeah, and why is it okay for me, just because I'm the guy that? Because you know why, Taylor? I'll give you the answer. Because they killed Hefner, and they're killing him in his grave. They killed Flint. He died a year later. And I'm the only man, there are only 3 people in the history of this world that are famous for being in the sex business. Hugh Hefner, Larry Flint, and Joe Francis. Can you think of any other name?
You know, I'll say,
and they're gonna
it might be a little it might be a little narcissistic, but I will say, okay, it's
Who else
well,
is famous for being in the sex business? Other than Mark Zuckerberg, who on Instagram has enabled billions of women to objectify their own selves and monetize their own bodies.
You know, that is interesting that Mark Zuckerberg
What's the difference between me and Mark Zuckerberg, other than he's uglier and richer? What's the difference?
Well, you make a good point.
He's uglier and richer, and he copied Girls Gone Wild. That's all he did.
Because what he did, if you guys don't know, basically the start of Facebook that he created in college was to basically put up photos of the girls in the college, right? And kind of like rate them based on their hotness. That was like the very, very start of Facebook, wasn't it?
I think it's still what Facebook and Instagram are. What do you think likes are?
Explain that to all of the grandmas and aunts posting every time they literally go to Kmart and get a new bathrobe. Like, I'm not trying to have it. But it's funny because no one brings that up, how those were the origins. But what I was going to say is also, you look at like, do you see what happened at CNN with Jeffrey Toobin and that whole thing? How was jerking off in, like, that is creep.
On a Zoom call. On a New Yorker Zoom call with the most conservative, high intellectual periodical known to man is the New Yorker. And he's jerking off in front of all of these women. And that guy held on to that job for 3 years after that. I can't believe it.
That's what I'm saying.
I could never watch him again on CNN, ever.
No, that's disgusting. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, how does that happen? How does it happen that a photo of you, you know, and even if you were checking out Kylie's ass, you're right, she's 18, it's legal. You know, what if she was 17 and a half? I mean, really?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
No, but right, you have Jeff Toobin and that disgusting. And right, he goes on to work. Like, it just doesn't add up.
Literally, he went on to work with a straight face, and I was like, how is no one called him a creep? And he masturbated on a New Yorker Zoom call.
But why? Why do you think that?
Why? Because I am famous for being the poster boy of all that is sex. I am famous not because I'm a professional. I've said this before. I'm not famous because I'm an actor. I'm not famous because I'm a professional athlete. I'm not famous because I'm a singer. I am famous for sex, for being in the sex business. And there were only 3 of us. You all, the woke people, killed 2, and I'm the only one left.
I know, but as it pertains to him, though, Joe.
I have a guy with a cardiac defibrillator following me around to make sure they don't get the woke police don't get me.
Okay, but as it pertains to him, not you. Like, how it, like, right? Like, how did that even possibly? It doesn't get. Like, how much more
creepier, right?
Does it get?
I know. And can you imagine, just imagine the New Yorker, they're in a Zoom call with writers, female writers and editors from the New Yorker. You know what kind of crowd that is. These are the most conservative intellectuals known to man. Like, I have a 99.9% command of the English language, and I still have to look up words that I read in the New Yorker magazine. Like, it's that high level. And he got away with that and then went back to his job like nothing happened. He read the news on CNN, and like for 3 years until they finally fired him last week. You heard that, correct?
Yeah, well, that's why I bring it up, because they have new leaders over there, and so finally, and so he says he was like, it pushed out or whatever, but yeah, so finally, yeah.
What a creep, though. How does he not get called a creep? He gets to go give commentary about the Harvey Weinstein trial and the Bill Cosby trial where he's masturbating on Zoom calls.
It's literally the most circus clown world that I've ever seen. So backtracking a little bit, right, to the Tommy Lees of it all, to the women, objectifying and taking in and being visual too.
Have you had Tommy on your show?
No, but I would love that. Imagine us 3.
I am going to I'll facilitate that, because he is lovely and he is charming, and you will find him to be the most charming, nice, sweetest guy ever. Like, you'll like him a lot. I mean, you and your audience will love him too. And he's not afraid to say the truth. He doesn't
I was gonna say, how do you think he would fare on Cancel Me Baby? Just make all my wet dreams come true, why don't you? Jeez. I mean,
he's sweet. I mean, like, really, he's a nice guy.
That's cool.
You'll like him a lot. I mean, really.
We'll make that happen.
I set him up with 2 girls at very different times, and he dated them for a long time, and both in love with him. I mean, and he was in love with, I know, one of them incredibly.
Okay, we'll make it happen. It's out there now. The record button is on. It's going to happen. But what I wanted to ask you before we wrap is, what are some things, because you talk about girls getting their nails done and this, and I mean, hell, look at girls getting fake tits, fake ass. Like, that's like, and that's the other thing too. I pride myself on doing it the all natural way. But what are some things that guys do that are overlooked, like little things that you do because you're like, we want to look good, we get checked out. Hell, I look at the gym, look down the street checking out guys' ass, and them too. So what do you guys do that's not discussed?
Well, I would say for sure a ton, but I would say there are different types of guys, right? I would put myself in the more metro category, right? In the more metrosexual category, because like most guys, well, 40% of men are colorblind, so they can't even match their greens and their blues and their clothing. I take care of myself, so I go to the gym. I definitely like to lay in the sun and look tan. I have facials. I have manicures and pedicures. I have massages. But women are much less visual, and women have much less visual. That is just a fact. Men are visual creatures. If not, I wouldn't have been able to sell so many millions of video cassettes and DVDs and then internet subscriptions over and over again.
No, it's true. But I would beg to, and I don't know if it's because, again, I'm feeling all this buzz because of my own body journey. So I'm specifically like heightened to it. But I say, like, even the score with the Tommy Lees, because like I said, that shit was hot. So I'll agree. Well, we're not as, we talked about this offline. Like, guys are like instant voter, see you later. Girls, like, we need the story and the setup and the back. That's what made the Tommy Lee thing so hot, because it's like the tattoos and the whole air of it and the whole thing. We know the backstory, right? Like, I will say, but I still think, you know, we could use a little more love in that arena, because that shit is hot for us too. I'm just saying.
All right, so let's touch on that, because what I have found is every woman is different. Every woman likes a different thing. Like, there are women that like really tall guys. There are women that like different body types. There are women that like different eye color, different colored hair, and guys are too. But guys will basically take anything. I mean, guys are much less selective. Women are, when it comes to visualization, guys are much less selective. Especially after a couple of cocktails, we're good to go. Like,
this is so politically incorrect, but like, I don't know if it was like a line in a movie or friends of mine in high school used to say, but you know, the thing that's like, you know, put a paper bag over her head and we'll be good to go. Like, it's that idea though. Like, it's like you can't say that today, but right, it's that idea that like guys would have sex with this can if they could, right?
They would. Well, I mean, what the fleshlight? I see commercials for that on television for the masturbation fleshlight. Like, I mean, they approached us about putting that type of stuff and sex toys and all that in the Girls Gone Wild thing. And I said, look, I can't do it. I don't want to be in the sex business. I'm doing a different thing. I'm letting girls express themselves. I'm not selling sex. I'm giving freedom of expression. And that's all it was about. And like, you've said this on your show before, and you've said this. Look, women were taking off their tops in the 60s and burning their bras because they were protesting in the feminist movement for this freedom. And now I gave it to them. And then Zuckerberg took the torch from here, and there are all these half-naked Instagram models, and those are the most followed people on the internet. Look, there are no men in all these photos, but by the way, there's always a guy. I always tell my friends, I go, do you not believe that there's a guy who's holding the camera? I always tell my friends, who's holding the camera on that trip to Paris? Who's holding the camera on that in front of the Colosseum in Rome? Who's holding the camera at the Vatican? Who's holding the camera in Venice? It is always a dude, and that's the guy paying for the trip, okay? For these Instagram models. But look, I don't hate that, but that's the reality.
Okay, and listen, this is something I wanted to touch on lastly. While I like your enthusiasm for liberating women, but while I beg to differ that you and
Taylor, here's what I want you to do right now. I want you to just say, I'm done with this, and take off your top. And then it's all
fine.
Over.
Fine. Take off your pants.
You have said I am not a conformist because, by the way, my mom's from Vienna, Austria. When I go to Europe,
I know
everyone's topless. So I don't understand. I don't get it.
Okay, well, take your pants off then, and we'll settle the score, buddy. But at
the same time.
The thing with this top is that
1, 2.
I'll do under boob.
Under boob. See, you guys always cheat. That's the part.
Excuse me. I don't see any balls.
Because I just don't think you're going to do it. So that's why.
See, you men in the end always.
I don't trust you.
Chicken out. What I was going to say was, while I love your enthusiasm for liberating women, I will beg to differ that you and Zuck single-handedly did this. I think women had a big part in that too.
But willingly, that's the one thing that everybody misses. We're not creeps. And like, I think we need to conclude with, there's nothing creepy about looking at an ass of an 18-year-old woman who wants you to look at, especially one who puts it on
Okay.
Millions of times on the internet.
This is the last thing I want to get to with you, because you hinted at it a little bit, is the idea of like female competition when it comes to looks, right? And like outperforming each other with the asses and the filters and the Instagram shoots, like the whole kit and caboodle, right? You made a comment, like when you see them away on whatever, on vacation, this, that, doing their Eiffel Tower, take that however you will, photo shoot, it's a guy behind the camera. I have actually argued, want your take on this. I've argued that women have sort of perpetuated this competition, like looking on Instagram, outdoing each other, have to do the hottest photo shoots. And dudes are like, it's hot, but like, I could take it or leave it. Like they're sitting over here chilling while girls are like, right, doing this whole marathon with one another.
True.
What
They
do you
really
think of
are.
that?
No, I mean, they really are. I mean, the thing is they're overdoing it and they're over competing. And the thing about with the filters these days, and when you actually see the women in person, it's two completely things. And I have, you know, and if you want to direct message me. I'm happy to talk to you out there. But, you know, I have a lot of girls that will send filtered images of themselves that look nothing like themselves. Nothing. The magic of today's photography and filters and Photoshop is far beyond what we've had in the last. In the Girls Gone Wild days, the idea, I would tell them, make it look grainier, make it look grittier, make it look realer, because the more real you make it look, the more they feel like they're actually there, and the more you know, the more immersive it is. Right? So we would actually tone it down by doing what they're doing. I really think the filters and the Instagram stuff is doing, and I have 2 young daughters. And by the way, people ask me, well, would you want your daughters to do Girls Gone Wild? All the time. If they wanted to do it, absolutely. If they wanted to do it, because it's their choice. I would never look, Steven Spielberg's daughter does porn. That's a fact. Steven Spielberg's daughter does porn. Okay? Because she wants to do it. And what did Steven Spielberg say? She wants to do it. I don't have a problem with my daughter doing porn. And everybody can go Google and look at Steven Spielberg's daughter.
I wonder which one it, because I was friends with one of them.
Movie. Steven Spielberg's daughter can get any job she wants in Hollywood just because her dad is Steven Spielberg. Period. Agreed? And she chooses to do pornography because she wants to get guys off. And tell me and you're calling me a creep? Because I only gave a vehicle and owned a company. Now, I wasn't even the cameraman. I had 500 cameramen. I was the owner of a company that gave a distribution for women to express themselves freely, the same as Mark Zuckerberg. And he's being celebrated when I'm being vilified. It's horrible.
Listen, you have me thinking now. I'm like, Joe Francis, under the radar feminist pioneer, like what? No, but it is kind of true though. The Steven Spielberg thing is fascinating because it's like, if it's their choice, it's their choice, right? And it's like, but it goes into what I said earlier. It's like at the end of the day, we as women decide. That's why I hate the narrative that men decide everything, even if they're looking at you, even if they're checking you out, whatever. It's like at the end, we decide who gets a piece of the pie, right? We have the control of how we use it, what we do, what lady in the street, freak in the sheets, whatever it is. And, you know, that shit is really cool. So I will say though, Joe, because I have to wrap us, Joe Francis, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Taylor.
In more ways than one.
I've been on the show a bunch of times, still never been canceled. Fuck them all. Fuck that cancel culture.
You know what we need?
Come after me. They always try to cancel me, and fuck them. They've never succeeded. And I've been famous for 25 years. I've always spoke my mind. Fuck them. Oh.
Well, with that being said, I'm like, okay, with that out there out of the way, we should do our next show with you, because we almost got at it earlier, but I'm not equipped or prepared. How about this? Well, I'll do the whole episode. I'll wear a bikini top and you will be in like boxer briefs.
Shirtless, boxers and shit. I'll totally do that.
Okay, done. The only thing though, Joe,
all half naked, and I'll tell you, I got more comments about that from everyone, because then I realized, oh my gosh, but you know what? It was gay men. And I'll tell you, when I owned Guys Gone Wild.
Well, think of how much gay men check each other out and are visual.
The Guys Gone Wild audience was 80% gay men and 20% women. And that proves that men are more visual.
Well, listen, it goes into like where we started, what a time, like it's a small world after all at the end of this ride where we all started, right? Like with the, you know, the deep down root of how we are and how we operate. You're right. Like gay men and just how they are visually. My only bone to pick with you now is that you deleted your comment, you know, like, do you guys hate God for making us this way? Like that's not very cancel me baby, Joe. You're supposed to leave that shit up and stick by it.
I'll tell you, all I was, and I'll defend myself there. I was just so busy, and I was really busy with work, and
He did say this to me offline. He did say this to me offline. He's like, I just didn't, like, how funny. He's like, I just didn't feel like dealing with it, like US Weekly, the Daily Mail. Yeah, like regular people problems, right? I just didn't feel like it.
It was like that. Like, honestly, not until the evening, because I was writing like my dissertation, you know, email or whatever I was working on, and I was deep in thought, and my Instagram kept beeping and beeping and beeping and all these comments. And at first I responded, and then hours went by, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna just delete it. And then I realized, like, there's 100 stories about this, and then people had taken my words. But yeah, and I'll say it, and I'll back it up. Listen, because I'm not deleting it now. I'm saying it, and it's on tape. It's on video. You're recording this, and you can put it anywhere you want. Look, it's not creepy for men to check out legally aged women. And I will check out legally aged women who would want to be checked out all day long, every day. As long as it does not hurt or offend anyone I am with, I will do that. And it is within my right. I don't want to offend a father. I don't want to, if they're with a boyfriend or a husband, I will not do it. Obviously, I have a tremendous amount of respect for that line. But if they are by themselves on a boat in a bikini and they are perfectly single, and they are putting a butt in my face, I am there to look.
And by God darn it, that's what he'll do.
Willing.
Well, Joe Francis, all I have to say is get your boxers ready, pal, because it's not over until the fat lady sings. And like, can we even say that anymore? I don't know, because all people fat, this, that, in this world are beautiful as they are according to woke people. And that is how the cookie crumbles. So,
well, I have to go, really, because I'm going to watch Steven Spielberg's daughter do a masturbation scene on OnlyFans right now.
I'll meet you there.
She's about to start live.
I'll meet you there.
Okay, cool.
Bye, Joe.
Bye, Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you.